So we're only kind of MVP at the moment, and the next few months, based in Singapore, next few months it will see it transform. This is my friend from Singapore.
Hi. How are you?
Christina.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
My cheerleader for today, but we'll see.
All right.
We'll see if actually.
Oh no, you're filming them? Oh my god,
Oh,
sorry.
interruptions on your film. How fantastic. So tell me more about your.
Yeah. So
No, I don't want to.
my business is basically the way we define it. It's targeting corporates, businesses, and international businesses who are looking to make their way into the present multicultural society. So, when I started out, I wanted to create an advertising agency, and I didn't have any strategy, I didn't have any idea as to what I really wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to work in creative industry. I knew media, that was my background, so I wanted to create something, and as a strategic thought, I decided that I'd use what my weaknesses or perceived weaknesses were, that I was from a minority background. I was not born and brought up in the UK, I was from India, I was an immigrant, first generation. So I said, let me turn this around, let me try and capitalize on this rather than being cowed down to this, because I would not be easily getting a break in the bigger mainstream businesses. So I just used this as a strategy to begin with, but as I got momentum and as I got steam, I realized that actually this is the need of the hour, because in a country like UK, you have such huge diversity. A city like London, you live in Singapore, so it's pretty similar. 50% of the people in London are born outside the UK, so that automatically is a template, which is not like one size fits all. Everyone doesn't understand a typical British humor. Everyone doesn't understand the way British advertising communicates. Most people actually are kind of agnostic to that. So it was designed for a certain audience. It evolves from there. But for the new audiences, the new majority, we're not the minority anymore. It needs to work differently, and that's what I started creating multicultural templates. And as we got along, we got international businesses who were launching in the UK, so that got me a boost. So that's how the business is. We are about 20 people. We have a creative unit. We make films. We do things like bloggers. We're working largely with food, finance, those kind of businesses. Food is a very big sector because world food is huge, especially in a country like UK. You heard about Asda and Sainsbury's merging? No. They're the two supermarkets.
Okay. Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so they are like the big businesses for UK. I mean, Asda is Walmart basically, and Sainsbury's is another corporate. Yeah, so we work with companies like them. Then we have a lot of independent entrepreneurs who have made it in the UK. So that's the general business model. But as you go along, like
and
this,
so it's full service advertising.
It's full service. Because in our space it doesn't work.
No.
If we are like boutique, small, so we have to offer full service because that's when we can control what we're doing. And typically companies work with us on relatively small campaigns, so no one is going to give us millions. People give us pieces. So then we have to make it work from end to end, and then we go into specialist media. We buy like ethnic media for UK, and then we deal with like all this South Asian media. There's huge number of them. You see that in Singapore as well, because I keep exchanging notes. And you have all these Indian TV channels. In UK, you also have the Chinese channels.
Is this also British brands looking to enter South Asian markets as well? It's more targeting communities within your country.
So what do you do when you have a big chunk of population who might speak English in the sense that they kind of know transactional English, but any idiom would be lost on them. So what you're doing in terms of advertising, all those specialist things would be lost on them. These are like your first generation housewives from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and then many other parts of the world. Like there are a lot of African migrants in the UK. So statistically, it's about 13% of the UK is kind of from South Asia, Africa, even China, and then other parts of the world. And this is a big number.
So we're actually looking to set up in the UK because we've been approved for the EIS funding.
Lovely.
So we haven't gotten any funding yet, but
Is the European Union? No.
It's the kind of the British enterprise kind of startup scheme. Yeah. So
Are they
we're
gonna fund
going
it?
to be coming in probably June or July to actually do a funding round
Okay.
in the UK, and part of the the checklist for the government is we actually need to set up a presence in the UK, and we will be
There's a
needing to
primary
then
thing.
target emerging communities who are entrepreneurs and want to start either bringing importers, exporters, and starting to do business with their own country. So that's something.
No, so great. So when you're there, we should connect.
Yeah.
And if I can be part of it in
Yeah.
any possible way,
Yeah.
I'd love to be part of it.
All right.
Yeah. Because my focus going forward is trying to increase the digital footprint,
Yeah.
how we do things, and how we kind of have better presence.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking for all kinds.
PR you do as well. You can help with PR.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely,
I
absolutely.
think that's what
Yeah,
we're going to
yeah,
need,
yeah.
especially.
You need B2B PR.
Yeah,
So
and-
yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So in the specialist press,
And the specialist press.
yeah, you need
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
There you go. We're not going to have anyone to talk to,
No,
but at least
no.
we can talk to each
Yeah,
other,
yeah,
right?
talk to each other. That's more meaningful.
So I think we'll give it like
Yeah.
a minute more.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
no,
no
no,
one's
no
going to
problem.
come. Oh, it's already past. I
Quarter
think,
past, yeah.
let's wait till 2 more minutes.
Yeah.
Call it a day.
Yeah.
And
So you had more sessions?
I have, yeah. I did a session in the big hall, really on my journey in startups and entrepreneurship over 20 years. What else did I do? I did one about emerging.
So let's try to come in. Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Or did you want to come? Please.
I have a talk here at 3.
You have a talk here at 3?
So-
Alright.
Just checking the room.
So yeah, I'm just checking.
okay.
You look
Alright.
stunning.
Thank you so much.
And
I'm
very
so
good,
happy.
very good
Oh.
speech today.
Oh, thank you so
I'm going to
much.
put it on my social media.
Oh, please do.
Yeah.
Please do.
Yes, try to show this gorgeous woman in
Please do connect with me.
green gown.
I definitely will.
Just come
you know,
here.
I'll
And how
send you my
magnificent.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
listen.
Syrian lady. Yes.
Magnificent. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Miriam.
Hi, Miriam.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
I will leave my things here.
Yeah, let's take a picture with her as
Oh,
well.
I love that.
Oh God, we have to stand on a chair.
Oh yeah. I've
Both
had
of you.
trouble with that.
Can you Photoshop me higher? You just have the top of my
Yeah,
head.
that's what happens in Bollywood. They like,
Was that what
yeah.
happens?
So if the leading lady
Oh,
is
yeah,
like
yeah.
taller
Yeah.
and the guy is smaller,
Yeah.
and then they would kind of make the guy
Yeah.
wear something.
Yeah.
So like he looks
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah, the women do that in Syria too.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's the audience.
We have an audience. We have an audience.
Yeah.
Right.
She's asking us to go there for the picture.
Ah, okay.
Maybe Trisha hasn't put more than the Prime Minister.
You couldn't invite me. You might invite me. Right. So yeah, we just exchanging notes and talking
That's fine.
because, and then this lovely lady walked in, so we said we'll take a picture. Thank you.
Great,
Let me
thank
take a
you.
selfie as well.
We'll take it for you.
Someone said that taking selfies is like a mental disease. I don't know.
I'll try.
Oh,
get you away from the mental disease.
Right.
I'm
I
here
actually
now.
made a commitment not to take any more individual selfies because I just
Yeah.
think it's totally self-fulfilling.
I don't do that often.
I do it a lot.
One second, I'll take one more.
Thank you.
That's all. I'm saying
That's
it's
called
my photo.
self-portrait.
It's a
Bango did it, so I can do
Okay,
it.
so what do you want to do? I mean, we have them as an audience, but if you want to continue, they're my friends.
Okay.
It's a free flow.
Well, no, all I was going to really cover was just how online. Come see.
Why don't we have a few
We could
minutes?
just have a
We'll
few,
just
just
talk
to,
informally.
yeah, talk informally about what I was going to cover. So really,
Like, let's say,
just to give you a bit of background. So my name is Miriam and I am an Australian entrepreneur and I live in Singapore. I've been in Singapore for the past 6 years. I've spent the last 20 plus years in international trade and small business growth. So really helping businesses to expand across markets.
Expansion now.
that's the online video.
Oh, I don't even know where it's coming from. Oh, it's much more bad. Oops. international trade in export, working with government, the chambers of commerce, and then I set up my own trade show in import-export and teaching people how to start and grow an import-export business and bringing the trade community together. 6 years ago, my husband's with eBay. We moved up to Singapore and have been there for 6 years, and I got involved while up there because I sold my business. I came up starting again without a network and not knowing anyone, and I got involved with the startup sector, helping the Australian startup sector actually, and then became involved in a global community called Startup Nations and the Global Entrepreneurship Network that runs the Global Entrepreneurship Congresses and Summits that happen once or twice a year in different parts of the world. And then I was getting to a couple of years in Singapore, and I realised I was going to be there. I needed to now figure out what I was going to do, and decided to get back to my roots in international trade and small business growth. Originally was going to start as a consultant, just guiding Australians up and say, Indian companies into Singapore, like kind of working on a more kind of ASEAN level. Met my business partner and we started to consult, and then we looked at each other and we're like, we're not getting any younger, like, this is the business we're hoping to retire on, so we really need to scale it, we need to go online, and we need to make a global impact. So we set up an online B2B collaboration platform called Bizzi.co, bizzi.co, really on the basis that all small businesses around the world, micro and small businesses, all suffer from the same sense of lack, lack of contacts, lack of resources, money, time, lack of knowledge, and what can we do to help them overcome that lack that's not going to put more pressure on them. And what we came up with was the concept of collaboration. And that if you, as a small business, or if you're a solo or tiny business, the strength in numbers and support you get by collaborating with complementary businesses, not necessarily in your sector, but just complementary businesses. You may have the same audience. You can package up products and services together. You can support each other. You can exchange knowledge. So you may even have possibly a competitor, someone doing exactly what you're doing in another country, but they're doing it in another country, but you can share.
Yeah.
You can share. And a great way as well for people to start to ask questions and get the support they need before getting on a plane and going to a trade show and spending all that money that they really don't have, that high risk. So we set up Bizzi, launched it in August last year. We now have nearly 1,000 businesses from 37 countries, thank you, on the platform. And this is just kind of the first version, so the next version is coming. And I think what I wanted to talk about today was really how online is the great enabler for small businesses. That really what you have access to is a presence, that you can set up your own presence online with a site that's not going to cost you hardly any money. That you can join B2B and B2C listings and LinkedIn's and all of these and have a presence on all of these. That you are able to run your entire office through online tools. You've got your Google Docs and you've got your newsletters and everything, your Dropboxes, and that means that you can run your business from anywhere. Payments, it means you can now accept payments from anywhere in the world, so you're no longer limited to your community for customers. And you see these wonderful photos, say, like these street sellers, through Southeast Asia or in India, they've got their little PayPal, little dongle on top of their thing, and then suddenly they're accepting credit cards in the middle of nowhere. So on your phone you can start to run a business. So not only are you able to grow and make sales, but you are able to save money, find efficiencies, and do a lot yourself, communication with Zoom, with Skype. So when we talk about, we talked about giving small companies a global voice online, it was really about empowering them to be online and have a presence that stretches far beyond what they thought possible. And the World Bank has said there are approximately 125 million formal micro and small businesses on the planet. 125 million formal. 70% of those approximately are in emerging nations. 60% of those are employing people, so they are actually generating income and making sales. So it's about how we can help those businesses access the tools, because a number of them don't know about everything I've just spoken about. And you know, I look even in our region, the Philippines, and you can't even get access to the internet in certain parts of the country. You know, and there are many parts of the world where what we're doing is taken for granted. They can't even get that. So you have governments with all these digital strategies, and let's get our small businesses online. The challenges are more than let's just show you how to build a website. It's have we even got the infrastructure to get you plugged in to the world? So I think when it comes to kind of giving global voices on, you know, small businesses, global voice online, this is at a policy level, at a government level, at an infrastructure level, and there's a lot of work to be done. But for those who have access to it, how can we go in and empower them to start using it in the simplest way, So that's the role I think, you know, what we're trying to do with Busy is trying to provide a platform that everybody can get access to. And it's not easy. I mean, even payments, we take payments for granted, but when we were looking to build Busy, we have a feature for micro consultants on our platform. So we have launched a thing called Micro Consulting. It gives business consultants, executives with experience, people who've been made redundant, retired, who want to give back to small businesses, an opportunity to come and consult through our platform. They can charge. We have up to a maximum of $100 per hour. We've capped it, so depending on your market, you might charge 10, 20, 50, 70, wherever you are, whatever the market from there. When we came to build that, what we realised is, yes, we can accept payments from anywhere in the world, but we can't pay out to a majority of the countries on the planet. And, you know, so there are emerging nations that can't actually get the money that they have made through Busy. And so, you know, that's a huge problem that I think a lot of governments don't realise, that people actually can't get their money through the PayPals or through the Stripes. Stripes only 23 countries.
Lebanon, Rupee.
No, exactly right. Exactly right. And so, I mean, we've had to set up entities in Canada, and I mean, we're everywhere to accept money and funnel it back. And as a small business ourselves, we're losing money on all the transactions. I mean, PayPal, this is extraordinary. We charge in US dollars. We have a USD bank account with our bank in Singapore. They don't let us take the money out of PayPal and USD into our USD account. It has to be transferred into Singapore dollars. You know, so these are all the things that need to be fixed up to really empower businesses online. But to start with, there was an interesting statistic that in ASEAN, I don't know globally, but in ASEAN, if you have a website or an online presence, you are 40% more likely to make a sale than not. As a products-based business. As a service-based business, it was as high as 82% just by having a presence. So that is the significant impact that being online actually has for small businesses. So it's about getting that message out and getting the fear away from it, because it is overwhelming. The choices are overwhelming, and fundamentally, if as a small business you don't have a very clear strategy as to what you're trying to achieve with your business, online is just an overwhelming mess that you don't know how to navigate. You know, so you really have to start with the actual foundation of the structure. What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to sell? Where are you trying to make those sales? All that impact, if you're a consultant or a keynote speaker, where is that voice? What is the voice you want to have online? Where's the customer? And then find the tools online to help you get there. So I think that's all I wanted to contribute in my session. So that was it.
No, very good.
Well, thank you, Vivian.
That's very educative. So I was thinking about this topic, and those of you who don't know me, I run an advertising company in the UK. and it focuses on what we call multicultural advertising and marketing. And like I shared yesterday, this was not something I devised strategically. It just so happened that I was in the UK and I was looking to do something which was in the world of media and advertising. And knowing like I would make it, it was very difficult to break into the mainstream, into the bigger businesses, into the bigger brands. And as a strategy, I kind of turned things around. I looked at myself, I said, I'm an immigrant, first generation, possibly I don't have the privileges which a lot of the people have in that industry. So let me try and use what I have. And that's when I came up with the idea of using a template which we call multicultural marketing and advertising. And then as I took this on, I had the vision, and as I grew the team, I made a business out of it, and that's what we're doing currently in the UK. Obviously, every single year the focus increasingly is more on digital. The clients talk a lot more about it, and every time we go into a boardroom or we're talking to a client, they all kind of think, how do we get into this millennial audiences? How do we get this 18 to 21-year-olds, 18 to 30-year-olds? Because increasingly everyone is aware that there's a disenchantment. They're not watching your traditional TV, they're not doing the things which you expect them to do, and they're moving away from the traditional mediums. And that's the big battle which is out there. And obviously that is the success of Facebook and Google. But coming back to our topic, giving small businesses a global voice online, if you look at what Google and Facebook are, they are basically small businesses which became very big, huge, because there were people, working in the universities. I mean, the stories are well known to everyone. These were kids working in the universities who worked on the algorithm. They were tech-enabled, they were tech lovers, and they could create the software and they could conquer the world. But going forward, it's not the same thing. So it's not anymore that you can just come out there and create a Google or create a magic app. I mean, obviously, you need to be part of a very elite tech world to be able to crack that and to create something. So in that context, it's not democratic anymore. It's kind of driven by big money, big funding. There's so much money out there, that every time I think of any business, inadvertently you end up thinking that I should be in the tech business because that's where the money is, that's where you get funding. Any other business gets like sidelined. Although the economics of it exactly might not be the same, but the business where the glamour and funding in today's world is in the tech business. And that's where you'll see a lot of innovation happening, but again, it's plutocracy in that sense that there are like few players, few funds, and it's in their hands. So the only way you can break out of it is possibly, I would say, innovation. And I think a good example in this particular country, in India, is a company called Flipkart, which basically grew out from a very simple insight. I mean, a lot of people must have thought Flipkart is basically an Indian version of Amazon. It does exactly what Amazon does globally. But Flipkart had an amazing insight. Even when Amazon was entering the market or they were trying to figure it out, they knew that Indians were not willing, at least in those days, and this is about 8 to 10 years back, that Indians were not willing to put their money through a credit card, like exactly the problem you're talking about, because it's a digital late economy, so people are not most comfortable, dropping their credit card and giving away their money and waiting for things to come, because they have this inherent distrust of where the money is going to go. And I think Flipkart cracked that code. All they did was they would be willing to accept money on delivery. So they would accept cash on delivery. And I think that was a great insight based on that simple insight. And obviously they did raise many rounds of funding, but when they initially started, they were bleeding because this model was not going to get the money. People were doing rejects. You can turn away a thing and not pay for it, and the thing would be So there's a huge cost involvement in that sense. But as it happens in the digital world, if you got the audience, it doesn't matter whether you lose money. You can lose billions of money, billions of dollars, and still can be a hugely successful business. And that's the crazy thing about the digital economy. That's not about really making money. It's about getting audience and getting a market share. And that's like true of companies like TransferWise. It's a huge loss-making venture, loses $1 billion, but the valuation is like in trillions. So you have those kind of scaling up happening. And so, obviously innovation is the most fundamental rule where you can possibly turn the game around. And you don't have to be a techie for that, but you have to have a lot of perseverance, a lot of work, put into there, a lot of boring work, a lot of work with technical partners, and you have to see through it, over a period of time. And that's the only way you can possibly get a foothold in the market. Second thing is, in spite of the digital explosion, you'll find in every single area there are not enough services which you can get with a lot of credibility. So even though it might look easy that I'm looking for this and I'll go and do Google and I'll get 10 vendors thrown out there. But actually, if I ask people, and I do this exercise all the time, and I say, okay, 10, give me like 3 vendors or 3 suppliers or 3 shops, which online, which kind of meets your criteria of being really good. Even things like dentists, even things like Poplar, or even things like, let's say, they're like in every single area, and people almost always struggle. And when I kind of go to the back of it, the whole thing is because great experience and great service are still not that easily, there are not enough players who can do that and kind of create credibility and have that kind of integrity. It's hugely missing, because the online businesses have become about this whole thing about making money, that you can
never speak to anyone.
yeah, so
You never speak to anyone.
So
Just make money online somehow.
and there are a lot of people who are like in this rush.
Or like affiliate marketing kind of a thing for all the online businesses.
So there's a huge industry which is kind of in interplay, which is all about kind of trying to maximize returns, and that has in a way taken away all those real entrepreneurs or people who really have something to offer, and they're far and few. And you would like always almost struggle everywhere to get those real vendors. And I think that's where there's a big opportunity for people to step in. People who have got credibility and who are willing to put their integrity there and say that no matter, if I've taken money, and if you're not satisfied, here's your money back. I'm yet struggling to see that kind of experience building out there in the online world. And I think if small companies adopt that, and if they kind of successfully absorb that as a philosophy or as a living mantra, I think they will be hugely successful, because that is the path which will eventually create success for them. And in my view, I think that's what small companies need to do. They don't need to follow this huge ambition of becoming whatever it is, Amazon or So I think that basic premise of creating credibility and creating that authentic experience for good service, So that was my thinking on it. Thank
So does everyone here have an online businesses? What do you do?
I have
Jewelry. Yeah. You make it yourself?
I make it myself. I live in Canada.
Oh wow, that's your name.
I am. Yeah.
So you sell it online?
Somewhat. I sell mostly in trade shows and stores.
You can talk about your business.
Online, it's a private training center. So courses online that we have would be accounting, business, health and social care, so business partners both. So we do have an online presence there.
And this is something exactly what Manish has said, which is about giving that opportunity for refunds, which is up to, we do it for up to 45 days now.
Yeah.
Where actually if you bought a course from us and you're not satisfied, you can actually have completely free. And we have seen the sales have gone up because of that very reason. Because it gives them credibility, it gives them that trust.
It's less risk factor for them.
And actually what's interesting is many times you see customers buying those products and they know they have 45 days, but they have logged in on the 50th day because they forgot they bought the product, because they were happy that they're absolutely fine with that. So it does really work, with that psychology.
But in the training industry, like if you get 45 days, people might have just, done and read and all of that, and then like, okay, I'm returning it back. I do not need it. I'm like, why do I need to really keep it for that long?
Yeah.
I mean, 45 days is good enough for anybody to read through or watch through any training material.
Yeah. I think it's one of those, like a lot of people with courses that we have are professionals already in their job. So it's very difficult that by the time you've worked, you get home, you look after the kids, for you to get time to now sit down and start doing stuff. So we kind of give that trust factor that if you want to use the space we're giving you, it'll be a couple in a percentage, but at least we're strong enough to say, listen, this is available, if you want to take it, here we are. And then it kind of gets us to stand apart from everybody else, because everyone else will give you 10 days, 20 days max, and then they'll switch it off. And these people that do give you 10 and 20 days, because I've done it as well, I will come back on the 19th and I'm sorry, I'm not logged in even once, can you please extend it? So the 10 days extension comes in. So we kind of save ourselves that thing of keeping them monitoring.
Yeah, wasting time and that's
And actually, we want serious customers, so we know that if we have given them that comfort of 45 days, then and you're right. Sometimes there are people who do that, but then that's cost of business.
People like
That's cost of business,
Globally,
That's how we look at it.
Yeah.
I think it's got both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
So we just try and see what works for us. And like I said, we have done the 10 days and 15 days. It took us a lot more administrative services and then to keep changing and extending. And like, you know what, just wait for 45 days, do what you want to do, you know. So it's worked out for us.
And that also happens many times when you buy a course online and then you actually do not log in. It's like maybe for another 1 year. You got 45 days.
And then you
So
realize
it's just like, buy a book because you just want to buy it as if you're going to read it tonight and you don't read it for the next 2 years.
No,
So-
Manish, we have known each other for a very long time.
Oh.
Manish understands what we used to do, and Krishna as well over here. And one of the things we used to do was classroom-based English courses for a lot of ethnic minority people, communities coming to us. And what was funny is that we used to sell courses for I think £700-800. And on the way out, we used to say, okay, now you finish this course, and we know you will not be coming back, to do it because you don't have time and you're working. We used to sell them an online course, and the online course was also priced at the same time £800, but we used to give it for £80, giving them £720 discount. And it was funny to see that great for the business because 95% of the people bought it. And not even 2% went back on the online because they just want to get the deal and they were like, yeah, we'll see what we have to do with it.
That's like buying psychology.
And they just took the course, they just bought it, but only 2% of them returned and completed that online course.
That's true.
And that's what we really do with teachers. That's why they didn't need the online.
Just assume it. But no, you're right.
No, so that's perfect.
So now actually it is changing because I think people who fund the courses have realized that people buy the course if they don't complete it. So now part of an incentive is like it's funded by certain providers. So what they do is every individual that passes the course, then you get certain amount, otherwise you lose out everything. So the people who are actually promoting the courses really work a little bit more further to make sure that the courses are completed, otherwise they don't get paid for it. So there are like loopholes which I'm paying attention to. But it's a great opportunity, online businesses. I mean, quite a lot of online social media groups are converting themselves into CICs, which is like community interest companies, to develop a business out of it. And I know quite a few are doing quite well. I mean, they're not having like, we all know that on Facebook, like there's so many fake names and all that, we don't know that real. So they claim to have thousands of members, and when you could see actual active are about 100 or 200. But they still do get business out of that by holding events and all that. So it's another
So I work with refugees, and we've been trying. I'm Syrian, and I work with Syrian refugees. And what I've been trying to do is I work with several groups of women and men, but mainly women who are artisans or craftswomen all over Lebanon, and some are inside Syria. And we're trying to promote their products, handmade products, jewelry, recycled papers, etc. and whatnot. And I really envision this online platform which helps sell these products, and not because they're made by refugees, they're really high quality, good products, but it's an added value that it has positive social impact. No, but I would like I need advice, support. That would be amazing.
Yeah, so let's talk.
Alright.
Because we are looking to work, with anyone who's collaborating, cooperatives, giving opportunity even to farmers who individually have small supplies, but together they can supply something bigger.
Yeah.
So actually getting people to work together to be bigger than what they are, and then giving. So this scarf is actually I support a social enterprise in Bhutan. So this is a happy scarf, and it's hand woven on a loom. And these are women weavers, illiterate women weavers. It's a cooperative of 70 around Bhutan who work from home. And then they've got a guy with a van who like drives around the country every day to pick them up.
We have that guy too.
Yeah, and then there are people like me in Hong Kong and Australia and Singapore who go like, we'll buy heaps, and either we'll just give that as our charity or we will go and sell them to market. These women are illiterate. They have never earned money or never thought they could earn money. There are women in their 50s who are getting, and they're getting good money. You know, they're getting money that would take them a year or 6 months to earn, and their husbands now are looking at them in a new light. So in many cases, the husbands have stopped working to support their wives, so they can like do more. So the kids are now seeing their mothers. It has transformed the lives of these 70 families, and they're not yet online. So that's the next thing, because that's how, because it's baby steps, and none of them. I mean, they don't speak English, so this is very hard to kind of create something, but we've got people who are helping them. I sell them on my blog, and so they'll get there, and part of the money's going in to give them business skills, to help them understand how to manage their money, so and actually develop them as businessmen. So happy to help.
That's a great opportunity. If we can support artists, small community, artisans,
absolutely,
all over the world. I mean, the kind of Indian economy, even till 30-40 years back, was hugely driven by that. And in every village you'll have artists, people doing specialist work, and they would even do barter. Even 20-30 years back, I mean, barter was a huge thing. People would come, they take clothes away for they will give you something else. And somewhere that digital economy has that responsibility, possibly I see it like that they can recreate that. It will hugely benefit. I mean, 70% of this country still in.
Do you also support for education also, like education and solely products and some like more products?
Any business on the planet.
I haven't. I am probably a big online consumer. I don't have any business. But I have deliveries that come to my house every single day.
Okay.
And my mother
That's
gets
what
very,
the millennials are trying to crack, right?
my mom gets very annoyed. She's like, what are you doing? I now no longer go shopping. I just, everything's online, whatever I'm looking for.
So you can kind of vouch that we're in the right
Yeah, I mean, I'm currently studying for an exam. I bought the course online. I'm doing
There you
everything.
go.
Haven't logged on. I bought it a month ago. So my exam's in another month. So hopefully I will log on soon. But yeah, I just thought it'd be really interesting to come out along and listen onto the other side of things, because I'm not a business person. I'm a doctor.
Do you live here?
No, I live in London, which is why everything is online and everything is so much easier. And you can buy packages now for whatever amount of money, like Amazon Prime, and you get everything literally the same day. It's at your door, so why are you going out for anything?
So it's like
But it's like but it's a lot of deliveries and it's a lot of returns, obviously, as well. But the return process as well has become easier. And now you can pretty much walk into any shop and hand back a parcel ordered by another company, and they'll take it with and send it back. So it's just easy. I'm a little bit
That's what I grew up in.
of course.
Actually, it's actually quite funny. 2 weekends back, we were having some friends coming to our place for lunch. Sorry, for dinner. And at lunch, we started laughing and we were like, oh, we're missing some wine bottles. And we were like, should we go down just the corner shop? We said, no, let's go online. In 4 hours, we had more selection and more things, and in 4 hours, we were delivered for the week. It's just perfect. It's just Amazon Prime. It's perfect. 4 months. So rather than going to the corner shop, you get a better price and more variety.
It's killing all the small businesses now.
Unless they come online.
Yeah.
Unless they come exactly
And then
and collaborate. Because then we have more choice, right? So we would have bought it from them.
You know, as the person who does all the stuff online, you become really judgmental as well. If you see a website that's just really not very good,
Yes.
user-friendly, no matter how good their service is, you won't use their products because you think, well, actually, what do they use? And then you might end up like, if I was looking for a hairdresser the other day and I saw this really flashy website and looked amazing, great pictures, and actually when I turned up there, it wasn't very good. But so it does really help because obviously I was there, I was going to get the service. But the place next door was better because it was a website, and I said, you know, hairdressers in my area. So there it is.
It's a 40% rule. So there you go. Yeah.
The service is 82%.
It is.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Thank you for coming to listen.
The only person on the outside of the fence who can
Actually, you should have sat there.
Validates what we're saying, so thank you.
My neighbours are very annoyed.
Yeah.
Like, this is the third one. I'm like,
Thank you.
Thank you.